Are you curious about Azure Cosmos DB and its multi-model capabilities? You're not alone. Many users find themselves puzzled by what multi-model really means. Today, we're going to clarify this for you. It's completely understandable to feel confused. The marketing materials can be a bit misleading, and it's easy to mix up the concepts. You're definitely not the only one trying to figure this out. Let's dive into the specific question at hand. One user asked whether the multi-model nature of Azure Cosmos DB means that the same underlying database can be queried in different ways, like using both Gremlin graph queries and the MongoDB API on the same collections. Or does it mean you have to choose a model at the time of provisioning? To understand this better, we need to clarify what multi-model means in the context of Azure Cosmos DB. Essentially, it allows you to work with different data models, but there are some nuances to how you can use them. Stick around. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how to leverage Azure Cosmos DB's multi-model capabilities effectively. To clarify the multi-model nature of Azure Cosmos DB, the user should first understand that it allows for multiple data models to be used. This means that the same underlying database can support different types of data structures. Next, the user should note that while Azure Cosmos DB supports various APIs, they must choose a specific model when provisioning the database. This means that at the time of creation, the user selects a model such as SQL, MongoDB, Cassandra, Gremlin, or Table. It's important for the user to realize that although they select a model at creation, they can still use different APIs to interact with the same data. However, the data must be structured according to the chosen model. Regarding the mention of columnar data, the user should understand that Azure Cosmos DB does not currently offer a dedicated columnar model at the time of provisioning. Instead, it focuses on the models mentioned earlier. In summary, the user can think of Azure Cosmos DB as a flexible platform that allows for multiple data models, but they must choose one at the start. This choice influences how the data is stored and accessed. Fun fact, Azure Cosmos DB is designed to scale globally, which means you can access your data from anywhere in the world. That's pretty cool, right? Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. This user clarifies that Azure Cosmos DB is a NoSQL database with a highly distributed storage format. They explain that while it accepts JSON for input and output, it doesn't necessarily store data as JSON. Instead, the multi-model aspect means that queries return a view or projection of the data based on the chosen model. They also mention that you can interchangeably use different APIs like document and graph APIs, and highlight that the multi-model feature is more about how data is presented rather than how it's stored. The user also points out that the recent announcement of the Table API suggests similar functionality. They reference a blog post that discusses cross-API usage and conclude that the distinction between Global Document DB and MongoDB might be significant in understanding the multi-model nature. Let's take a look at another answer from another user. This user shares their experience with Azure Cosmos DB's multi-model capabilities. They successfully created a Cosmos DB account using the SQL API and were able to retrieve documents using the MongoDB API. This suggests that different APIs can interact with the same data, contrary to earlier beliefs that MongoDB was isolated. However, they caution that further testing is needed to ensure there are no issues with data integrity or performance due to differences in data types. The user also notes that the Azure Resource Manager template does not specify Global Document DB or MongoDB initially, but exporting it later shows Global Document DB. This might be relevant for deployment considerations. That's all on that answer. Let's take a look at another one. According to another user, Azure Cosmos DB's multi-model capability means that it stores data in a format called ARS and exposes it in JSON. This allows for flexible querying since all fields in all documents are indexed by default. The database engine uses an intermediate language similar to JavaScript, which helps bridge the storage and the various APIs. This design enables the addition of more database APIs for different querying methods, such as SQL, Document, and Columnar. Let's take a moment to review another user's answer. According to another user, the multi-model feature of Azure Cosmos DB means that your data can be stored in various formats. Currently, it supports 4 types: Document DB or MongoDB, Graph Database, Key Value Pair, and Wide Column or Column Family. This flexibility allows you to integrate with different APIs and create a user experience tailored to these storage types. Here's a pro tip. Always review the latest Azure documentation before provisioning your Cosmos DB instance. This will help you make informed decisions about which model to choose. And there you have it. Now you understand the multi-model nature of Azure Cosmos DB. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more insights, and remember to explore the documentation for the best practices.